This is Witch-based news for Friday the 1st of August 2025. I'm Commander Burr. In Elite Dangerous news this week, the current community goal smashes all previous records to become the largest ever in the game's history. Powerplay and BGS deliver a famine and feast, and we analyse all the details of the new Type 11 Prospector from Lakon Spaceways. If you enjoy our videos, consider subscribing to the channel and remember to ping the little bell to make sure you see all our content and community posts. And if you'd like to help support our channel, links to our Patreon and everything else are in the description below. The current Panther Clipper inspired and hauling focused month-long community goal running in the game that we reported on last week has just entered its second week, and as of this recording has now over 29,000 registered participants, making it the single most popular community goal in the history of the game so far, beating the previous record holding CG at just shy of 23,000 participants. That CG concerned itself with the trivial matter of defending Earth itself from the final Thargoid Titan mothership. Just one cargo drop in the current CG will earn you a special set of expanded capacity engineered cargo racks. Get yourself into the top 75% of participants however, and you'll receive 2 sets of those same cargo racks. A feat, by the way, that we're very pleased to report this week appears to be eminently achievable using free to access vessels like the Type 9 and the Imperial Cutter, and therefore very much isn't exclusive to those commanders that have paid for early access to the galaxy's new hauling darling, the Panther Clipper Mark II from Zorgon Peterson. Once participation and the sheer volume of cargo being delivered became apparent to Frontier, they added a couple of tiers on top of the goal to ensure that it wouldn't top out early and that everyone would have a chance to get a crack at those engineered cargo racks and make some coin, as is very much their MO these days, and make coin you very much will, as the goods being demanded from the goal have a 10 times multiplier on their sell price. For a large portion of long-time players of Elite Dangerous, the background simulation system and now the newly revamped Powerplay system are 2 of the big draws to the game. Manipulation of the 2 systems and resultant back and forth in system ownership and influence that manipulation brings is something that keeps a lot of players logging in every day. The 2 systems can be notoriously complex, and the interweaving in the game's many other systems that their presence provides can, in some cases, produce some odd results, sometimes good and sometimes not so good, and that has very much turned out to be the case in 2 instances this week. This is a story of good news and bad news, so I'll start with the bad news first. Without a change in a specific star system's power play ownership or some suitable intervention from Frontier, you're not going to be unlocking the power plant and power distribution engineering specialist Hira Tani anytime soon. As with all the other engineers, Hira Tani has requirements you need to fulfill before she'll deem you worthy of an audience. The engineer Liz Ryder first needs to send you her way. You then need a rank of outsider or higher in the Imperial hierarchy, and then finally she's somewhat of a smoker it seems, and has a particular taste for the rare Camitra cigar commodity that is sold in the nearby Camitra system, and as of this broadcast it's here that the system currently falls over. Camitra cigars are technically classed as a legal drug and are only sold in limited quantities at Hamel Terminal in the Camitra system. However, despite being described in the game as a legal drug, they appear to be very much not legal as far as the game itself is concerned, and depending on the fluctuations of the BGS and ownership in the system, this can potentially mean that the cigars go off sale completely if the faction in charge of the facility they're sold at don't like them. This issue has recently been exacerbated however, as the power player Aisling Duval has recently moved into the system, and Aisling seems to be a proponent of complete prohibition, meaning all drugs, alcohol and narcotics, legal or otherwise, are completely banned, and you've guessed it, you can now no longer buy Camitra cigars as a result, and therefore can't unlock the valuable engineering skills of Hiratani. It seems unlikely that this specific problem is intended behaviour, and there is an issue tracker report that you can add your voice to if you so desire, linked below. And I'm grateful to Commander General Zoff for pointing the issue out to me earlier this week. So let's move on to the good news then, and I have Commanders Wotherspoon and Beetlejude of Galnet News Digest to thank for their video highlighting this. You'll find that linked in the description below. Again, it concerns rare goods, and again it concerns the many wrinkles of the background simulation and its interweaving with Powerplay. Since the Powerplay refresh last year, the trading of rare goods has become a moderately effective way of gaining Powerplay merits in the game to level up with your chosen power. The more rare goods you can sell in your chosen power's systems, the more merits you will gain. The issue with rare goods, as the name implies, is that they're rare and are therefore only available in small quantities. Individual background simulation states can have an effect on how many of a given rare commodity you can buy at any one time however, and in some rare circumstances multiple positively affecting BGS states can coalesce at a given time to boost that availability further. And one such rare opportunity is currently occurring at Cheranovsky City in the Naguri system, the only place in the galaxy where you can buy the rare commodity Soontill relics. Brace yourself, these normally limited Soontill relics are currently available in hilariously large quantities, batches of 600 in fact, meaning if you cart them around 150 plus light years away and then sell them in one of your power's systems, you could potentially earn upwards of 10,000 merits for each run you do. Due to the game's mechanic of diminishing returns, you're advised to limit the quantities that you sell at any given moment, but the method to maximise your returns you can find detailed in the Galnet News Digest report, which, as I've mentioned, is linked below. There's no knowing how long the Soontill BGS induced bonanza will continue, so if you do want to avail yourself, don't delay. Following the almost guaranteed success of the Panther Clipper, Frontier showed off the next new ship to enter the game on the Frontier Unlocked livestream this week. If you missed our video about that reveal, then you'll find it linked on screen now. Since the livestream, we've had a chance to pore over the image assets that Frontier has so far provided on what we now know to be the Lakon Type 11 Prospector, and we think we've spotted some juicy details. I'll first of all talk about what is perhaps the most obvious of the ship's exterior features, those hydraulic piston supported engine nacelles. The arms or wings that the nacelles are attached to are clearly hinged in the middle, and the hydraulics on the underside appear to be at their full extension, which leads us to believe that those outrigger engines will retract inward and downwards when the ship extends its landing gear in order to allow it to fit comfortably onto a medium landing pad. I have seen some speculation in a couple of places that the ship will actually land on those engines. I have to say I don't personally subscribe to that theory, if for no other reason than the engine cowlings etc don't appear to have been shaped, supported or prepared in any way at all to have the weight of an entire starship sitting on them. There's not the reinforcement or structure that you'd expect to see associated with the feet on a starship. I'll come back to what we think is the actual landing gear in a moment. Having dealt with the hydraulics on the outrigger arms, then your eye is almost certainly drawn to the similar and not insignificant hydraulic infrastructure on the upper rear dorsal section of the vessel. Whilst those pistons do appear to be attached to the upper rear mounted engines, those same engines are not shown in any of the images we have as extended away from the main ship's bulk in any way at all, and it seems honestly unlikely to us that the ship would choose to extend them upward upon landing, as all that would do in fact is increase the real estate that the ship occupies, leading to a similar problem that the Type 7 has: the horizontal profile of a medium ship, but a verticality that is somewhat akin to a blue whale attempting a headstand, leaving the top heavy ship with no option but to use a large landing pad. We're instead inclined to believe that the upper piston arrangement is what we like to call here implied functionality rather than explicit. This is a design choice that Frontier has used quite a lot in the past. You'll see it if you look closely at what appear to be the large doors on the underside of the Anaconda that don't open, for example, or more recently the rear upper quarter of the Panther Clipper that imply the Panther is a Thunderbird 2 style U-shaped lifting frame with swappable cargo modules supported in the hollow of that U-shape. In lieu of any other details currently, we're inclined to believe here that specific design aesthetic is implying that perhaps the whole back opens up using those hydraulics to allow easy access to the mind or within without explicitly actually doing it. Think of it as a kind of supermassive bin lorry. While we're talking implied rather than explicit functionality, let me just close off a couple of other notable points. There's a set of 3 hatches with shutter style covering doors on either side of the ship's upper side, giving the vessel's mining speciality. That speaks to me of outer doors for the refinery bins that the ship will use to refine its mined ore. Again, I'd be astonished and frankly overjoyed if these doors actually opened and did anything, to be brutally frank, but FDev have never produced such a specifically tasked ship before, so they could always surprise us. Likewise, there's a fairly large similarly shuttered door on the back left hand side. This could always be an entry and egress point, but it strikes me as unusually large as such for FDev's usual stylings, and there's another suspiciously correctly sized shutter door on the front of the ship, directly underneath that very large mining specific hardpoint that seems more likely to serve the purpose of an entry ramp or stairwell. On the same lines, I'm not inclined to believe that forward shuttered recess is another hardpoint, given its proximity to the aforementioned large rock annihilating rifle cannon that is immediately above it. Any hardpoints beyond the cockpit adjacent mining tool have proven harder than usual to spot on the Prospector, so numerous and varied is its greebling. Indeed, if it were any more utilitarian in design, it would just be a shovel and call it a done deal. There are a couple of asymmetrically placed greebles under the cockpit area that could well be weapon slots. The other details in the same area that are symmetrically mounted are, I would think, probably thrusters due to the symmetrical requirements of thruster functionality, whereas a hardpoint pretty much doesn't care where it's mounted. On the underside elevation, we can also clearly make out the cargo hatch, and aft of that an auxiliary vehicle bay for an SRV or SLF. We're definitely seeing at least 3 seats in the cockpit, and as an SLF often makes sense for a lone mining vessel, we're inclined to believe that the T11 will indeed support such. I said I'd return to that all important landing gear. There are 4 identical shuttered doors on each corner of the ship's main underside bulk, 2 facing forward and 2 facing out to the side, which would provide the ship with an excellent squat and stable base to operate and unload from. These doors, by the way, appear to be almost completely identical to those seen on the Mandalay as well, leading further weight to the feet argument. Overall, I'm left wondering if the Prospector, given its focus on a single role, lack of any visually obvious hardpoint configuration and support for multiple crew members, actually relies more on ship-launched fighters than it does hardpoints for its self-defense requirements. But either way, we should know more on that front in a couple of months at the most. Frontier revealed on Wednesday that the T11 Prospector will be capable of a new type of mining using that large asymmetric front-facing hardpoint. It's worth noting that whilst clearly, in their words, a new type of mining is coming to the game, the new feature they spoke of at the start of the year isn't due until the final quarter of the year, alongside whatever ship comes after the Prospector. Whatever the new type of mining is, we don't think that is the same new feature that Frontier still have planned for the end of the year. As always, as soon as we know, we'll let you know right here. Are you struggling to unlock a cigar obsessed engineer at the moment? Did you notice anything on the Type 11 that we missed? And how do you feel about FDev's first ever task specific ship? Let us know in the comments below. That's it for now. Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back later this week with more videos. Until then, 07 Commanders, follow the greens on the way out and do keep clear of the toast rack. We very much look forward to seeing you next time.